Hey guys, welcome to the Vanity Mirror and welcome to my new setup. My lights are working, I have a couple decorations, I'm planning on getting a little bit more, but I'm really excited. My last video, the lighting didn't work out so well, but it wasn't technically a makeup video, so I didn't really bother with re-recording. But this one, I have done a couple tests and I think it is actually bright, it is actually good, and I think everything is looking really well. So why don't we just go ahead and get started on today's video. So today we are doing a look at my entire eyeshadow palette collection. It has grown significantly since I even started my channel like 4 months ago, and I wanted to share with you guys all the palettes I have and then talk to you about like what I like about them and what I don't like about them, and then I'll point out at the end what my favorite is and what my least favorite is. I'm gonna go back and forth between ones I don't like as much that I have and ones that I do like. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm gonna start with one of my newer ones, which I actually won in a giveaway, and that is the Morphe Copper Spice Palette, the 25A. It looks like this. So I really like this palette. Morphe has incredible quality in their eyeshadows, and this one is no different. The shimmers are amazingly pigmented in this. I mean, like, just watch. You saw, like, I just kind of did a little swirl. Just for that little bit that I touched it, it's so nice. They're all very creamy, very pigmented, and really easy to blend and work with, and that's what I love so much about Morphe shadows in general. And this color selection is really great for me because I really like my warm colors, which I know is a pretty stereotypical thing here on YouTube, but I love my warm colors. And I also love a really nice, pretty pigmented shimmer, so I love that palette. Now going over to a palette I don't like as much, I'm going to show you guys the Blush Nudes palette from Maybelline. So this is a drugstore palette. Let me first tell you what I like about this palette. Here's what it looks like. So what I like about this palette is that it has some very soft, very pretty colors. It, in some ways it kind of reminds me of the Naked 3 palette, but my issue with it is the pigmentation is horrible. So this color right here, this nice purple, if that was an Urban Decay product or a Morphe product, I would expect a lot out of it, but this is all you get out of that right there. And then the one next to it is this like really pretty color that kind of reminds me of, and I'll just kind of cheat a little bit here. It really reminds me of Black Forest Truffle in the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette, but let me swatch them side by side for you. If you look at them in the pan, they look exactly the same. They have this deep cherry color with some like pink sparkly flecks in them. I mean, they look exactly the same. But when you swatch them side by side, here's the Maybelline one, and here is the Chocolate Bar palette one. So this is Black Forest Truffle in the Chocolate Bar palette, and this is that color in the Maybelline. They look totally different. The one in Maybelline almost comes off gray with just some pink sparkles in it. Even the Chocolate Bar palette one is honestly not terrific. I've had better quality shadows, but you can really see a difference. Like if you're looking for like, oh my gosh, that is such like a pretty purpley deep cherry color, you're not going to get that. You're going to get this gray with some pink flecks. So if you want that color, I would dip into the Chocolate Bar palette. What else I don't like about the Maybelline Nude palette is it's very chalky, really lacking pigmentation in pretty much all of the colors. I've used a lot of Maybelline products in the past that I really like, but this particular product just does not do it for me. It's really hot in here today. Do you guys like my lashes, by the way? I just thought, why not put some lashes on for this video today? Why not glam it up a little bit? Okay, so let's jump to another palette that I like. And I really like this Blink Electric Eyes palette that we got in BoxyCharm this month, well, in July. It is so good. Here are all the colors. They are so beautiful. I mean, they're so pigmented. I'm wearing this red one, which is either called Autuni or Rodoni, I don't know which, on my eyes right now. The red color on my eyes is that color, and it's just so, they're all so beautifully pigmented, especially if you use them with concealer on your eyes or you get them wet. It is perfect. It's amazing, and I love them. And I like to use this one in my inner corner. I've been using this quite a bit. So the only thing I would say I don't like about it is there's no mattes. So you really do have to dip into another palette if you want to use this palette. But I've been using this for my shimmer needs for like a couple weeks now, pretty much straight. Another palette I really didn't like that much, and I do have a video on this, is the Forever 21, I think it's just called their color palette. It doesn't even say it on the packaging. I really like the color selection. There's a lot of really good mattes. They feel really velvety when you swatch them. They're just not super pigmented. They do have a big range of colors. They have like blues, pinks, reds, some cool toned colors, and I really like that about it. There's a few shades that look exactly the same to me, and it can get a little chalky. It was also $10, just like the Maybelline Nudes, and I will probably reach for that more often than the Nudes palette. I have the Morphe 35OM and the 35OS palettes. So the 35OM palette looks like this, and it just has a ton of creamy, wonderful, huge variety of Morphe matte shades. That's why it's 35OM. You can get the 35O palette, which has a mix of shimmers and mattes, but this is the matte one, and here is the shimmer one. And if you look at this one and that one, they are about the same palette, but shimmery and matte. So here's this one, and again, like beautifully pigmented shimmers. Okay, so there's just a few right here of the 35OM palette swatches. They're very creamy to the touch. Like they almost feel like you're literally sticking your finger in cream. It doesn't take much to get the desired pigmentation out of them. It's just a really great combination to get those two, and it's pretty affordable as far as eyeshadow palettes go. Okay, another palette that I really like is the Naked palettes. We'll just go over that. I have Naked 1 and 2, and I really love both of them. I would say Naked 1 I like a little bit more. Anybody who's been watching YouTube for a while or owns some eyeshadow palettes knows that Urban Decay has really good quality eyeshadows. The mattes are not super pigmented looking on my skin because they're really close to my skin color, but here's a few of the colors. In the original Naked palette, that is Naked, Buck, Dark Horse, and Hustle is the last one there on the end. I just love this palette. It's all warm tones, but it throws in that shade at the end. That gunmetal shade is gorgeous, and so in Creep is this like shimmer black. And then the Naked 2 palette likewise has gorgeous colors, not a ton of mattes though. And that would be the one thing I don't really like about them, is they don't have a ton of mattes, which I really like mattes to bring my looks together, but it has other really beautiful shades. I love Verve. It's this beautiful kind of like silvery, but also kind of taupey color. It's right there. Oh my gosh, I love Verve. It's just so pretty. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have heard all about these palettes before, but just for any of you who are looking into eyeshadow palettes and wonder what people like and don't like, I mean, these are definitely very famous ones. My very first eyeshadow palette ever, I still have, and that palette is from Sephora. It even has like the little Sephora logo on it. It broke when I went on a vacation, and it's kind of everywhere, so I want to be careful here, but it has like an all matte side and then an all shimmer side. It was a great beginner's eyeshadow kit because it had the all matte side and the all shimmer side. It was just perfect for a beginner, especially a smoky eye beginner, because you can make a really good smoky eye with that palette. I do love that. I love that it was there for me as a beginner. I don't reach for it at all anymore, especially now that it's broken. But I did really love that palette at the time. So, moving on. I also have this Urban Decay Ultimate Basics. For those of you who have been around the block a few times already, know how amazingly gorgeous that packaging is, and this huge mirror it has. And here's what the shades look like on the inside. It is an all matte palette, and that's why it's called the Ultimate Basics. You have to see this color Extra Bitter. This is the one people rave about. I don't use it a lot, but it's seriously beautiful, and it didn't take much to get that swatch, and that is what I love about it so much. It's just gorgeous. And I use the color Blow, which is this like really light colored, very, very slight sheen to it. It's this color right here. Kind of a cream color. I love using that as a brow bone highlight. So I love this palette for when I need some mattes for my look and I don't feel like lugging out the entire 35 OM palette from Morphe. Here is the Real Her I Feel Beautiful palette. I got the number 3 palette, and this came in BoxyCharm in June, I believe, and here's what this looks like. I don't really have a particular issue with this palette, however, I never reach for it. I have not reached for it since we got it in BoxyCharm. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't really use it. The pigmentation is just not terrific. The colors, here's one of the shimmers. I had to really kind of dig for that. I really like the color selection in this particular palette that I got. There's quite a few mattes, which, as you've been able to tell, I'm sure I really enjoy. I haven't found myself reaching for it at all. So even though I'm really grateful for it, and I think there's some beautiful colors, I just don't know how often I will be reaching for that palette. So this next one I have also had for a really long time. This might be my second eyeshadow palette ever, and that is this Forever 21 Ombres palette. All shimmers. So you know what I'm gonna say, there's no mattes. So that in and of itself, you know, it's kind of whatever. You gotta go into other palettes. They're very, 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 very chalky. That's like a huge issue with this palette. You stick your fingers in these and it's just like powdery and chalky, but there's some good like color sections that you don't typically see, a little bit more unique, like this kind of yellow green over here, and then this like dark like army green down here. I think that's great that those are in here, and then there's like this deep, beautiful navy blue. Now that I have the Naked palettes, this is just, I don't reach for this at all. Especially because those are so much better quality, but this was again really good for a beginner and someone who is on kind of a smaller budget. This was probably like $8 from Forever 21. This is another thing I got from BoxyCharm, and it's this little palette here, and just like the Blank palette, beautifully pigmented, wonderful, wonderful colors. The pigmentation is unreal, right? I don't reach for it a ton. They're not super wearable colors, but I have a feeling that that cranberry color there is going to get a lot of use as we get closer to the holidays. In fact, all 3 of these colors seem a little bit more fall to holiday season for me, so I will probably be getting a lot more use out of it very, very soon. So you guys, we're down to my last 2 palettes, and they kind of go together, so I'm going to go ahead and show you them together. I have the second edition 120 color shadow palette from BH Cosmetics and the 88 matte 88 color eyeshadow palette, also from BH Cosmetics. This one is full of mattes and shimmers, and this one is supposedly all mattes. It's not all mattes. So in this one, here's like, that color selection is insane. There are tons of colors in this. I guess what I kind of like about it is it claims that it's all mattes, but that is definitely not the case. Some of these have a sheen. I don't know if you can tell, but those 2 right there have kind of a sheen to them. Like if you look, like you can kind of see a little bit of like a shine. I was kind of hoping for with this palette is to have a ton of really colorful mattes, so I could use them with the shimmery colorful colors that come in here that might not have good transition colors or whatever. And let me just give you a quick peek at Liska. Here's the first layer. I just did a whole video on this. First impressions anyways, not really a review, so you can, I'll link that down below if you want to go see me do more swatches of this and talk about it and use it a little bit. Here is the second row. I really like it. I think there's a really good mix of mattes and like sheens. I think it would have been fun to have more actual like shimmery colors, but the formula is very creamy, very gorgeous. Okay guys, so that was all of my eyeshadow palettes. Now that I'm doing YouTube, I want to like keep collecting eyeshadow palettes and talk about them. In fact, I'm going to be reviewing a new eyeshadow palette. It gets pretty new to Sephora, and I will be reviewing that on probably Saturday's video, so keep an eye out for that. But before we go, I'm going to talk about what my favorite palette is and what my least favorite palette is. You may have noticed me talking about the 35OM palette a lot. Well, guess what, you guys? That one's my favorite. 35OM is my favorite palette that I own because I can use it for almost every look I ever do. If there is a palette that doesn't have mattes and I need some mattes, that's the one I go to. You can use it alone or you can use it to supplement for a lack of mattes in another palette. It's absolutely my favorite. My least favorite that I have, oh my gosh, I actually forgot one of my palettes, and it's actually my least favorite, so we'll just go ahead and talk about it now, is the Smoky Eye palette from NYX. I have a whole video of full face drugstore look, and I decided to be bold and try to do a really dramatic smoky eye using this palette when I did that look, and it was this like patchy, hot mess. So hard to work with, so patchy, so hard to blend. I don't mean to be mean to NYX. I love NYX. I love NYX, especially their lip products. Oh, I love their NYX products. Their lip products. Here's just some of the darker colors in the palette. It could be more pigmented, and it was kind of expensive for 6 shades and not being that great. I want to say like $8 or $9, which I don't know. That seems like quite a lot for not that great of a palette. So yeah, that is my least favorite palette that I own. I have not reached for it since I did that video. Okay, well you guys, that is all for this video today. I showed you all of my eyeshadow palettes, pointed out my favorite and my least favorite, and kind of give you a little bit of a lowdown, very mini review on all of the palettes. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you like seeing collection videos from me, and also go ahead and leave a comment down below for any interesting new products out there that you might want me to take a look at and review, or any other ideas you have for videos for me. Let me know, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really enjoyed having you, and I will see you later. Bye guys. Please subscribe by hitting the tempting red button below the video. Okay, bye. Yes. I'm a weirdo. And I have the naked palettes with shimmery colorfuls. Shimmery colorfuls. I smell tomato soup, and I really think it might be this eyeshadow palette, which is kind of strange.